So does anybody remember what we did last class? Okay, who can give me main takeaways? Vishwani?
Sorry, you broke for me.
Main
Yeah.
takeaway?
So from last class was a more general and not specific to the shloka discussion, but very enjoyable one nonetheless. How you were basically explaining us an extension of what we've been studying, that how we actually have an evidence on a daily basis how the body dies. We need to shower, we need to wear clean clothes, we need to brush. So we actually die every day more than we live every day, contrary to what pop culture keeps telling us about how like you live every single day. We also have proof that the body obviously dies, but unfortunately we don't have proof that the soul is eternal. So what Lord Krishna is actually doing is clarifying this, for us. Now, unfortunately, how we get proof is through our senses, right? Now, for the soul, that's not possible. So, unfortunately, there is no activity that helps us get to the soul and understanding it. Like, you told us how even meditation alone will not get you there. So it's a 3-step process, which was the main takeaway for me, which is you have to contract your senses. You have to completely like mitigate your ego, and you need to have a stable mind. This is how you'll actually finally manage to get the proof that the soul exists. And you have to completely, these 3 activities, they actually remove the objectivity from us. And then we also did how it's not, Krishnji is not giving an instruction to fight to Arjun. He's actually telling Arjun it's his dharam, and whatever obstacles come in the way, he'll obviously sort of help Arjun, resolve them. Like we've been seeing in his head, he's going through a whole bunch of things. So yeah, for me, this was the biggest takeaways, which of course, after we studied how the mind, body, and soul are all different, and we've extensively discussed that in the previous classes.
Excellent. Excellent. Any thoughts, Richa, today since you're not on the road?
Yes, Didi. Didi, I can't hear. Can you just repeat?
Can everybody hear me?
No, I have actually a little bad Wi-Fi at my end.
Okay, I was just asking,
this
if
thing
you're
is dropping.
not on the road, can you share your main takeaway from last class?
Yes, Didi. So the main takeaway was like our body has this urge to, feel alive, and constantly it wants attention. And the soul is not like that. And it is the soul which keeps the body alive. And the body is all the time decaying. Like the body is in this constant state of decay, and every day we can see it, but we don't realize it. It is the soul which keeps the body alive.
Excellent.
And the soul doesn't want any attention, and the body has this, craving to get attention, and it wants to be recognized. But the soul is not like that, and the soul is eternal, and the body is like, constantly dying. And what else was there? So, and she said, like, the 3 things that, you have to drop your ego. We have to be in this state of, you have to drop your ego, you have to contract your senses, and you have to be in, constantly be in service, and stay in a state of contentment and non-flux. So then only you can
contract your senses and still your mind.
Yes, Didi, I can't hear you.
Still your mind. Still your mind. Put off your video so you can hear better.
Okay. Yes, Didi. Yeah, so the body is dying, and this is the character of the body. It is constantly in a state of decline. as you are not what you used to be. And we have this evidence that, the decaying is happening every day. The deha is mortal, and it's always approaching death. And the soul is eternal. The shariri is the soul, though sharir is dying. And we have proof every day that the body dies, but we do not have proof that the soul is eternal. And the basic this thing of the soul is always to be happy and to be content. And that is what we should always, we should always give 100%, more than 100%. And we should never be in the state of sadness or discontentment, because that is not the basic character of the soul. So this is like, every time we should give 100 and more than 100%. And our soul always wants to be happy, and that is what we should always strive for.
Excellent. Very nice. So, I have a question. And this is not a question from Bhagwat Gita, but it's a question. When we are looking for wish fulfillment, which is mostly 99.9% of us, right? Bhagwan, bacha de do, Bhagwan, paisa de do, Bhagwan, काम दे दो, right? शादी दे दो. ये main लोगों के, थोड़ा, freedom from disease, freedom from pain and suffering. But mostly these are the big agendas, big issues. So when we are looking for this material wish fulfillment, why are we praying to the God? Because that part of us, the Atma part of us, has nothing to do with the material, right? Atma, Paramatma, ये बिल्कुल अलग चीजें हैं. और जो हम देख रहे हैं तो सारी माया है. तो हम भगवान की पूजा क्यों करते हैं? Everybody can hear me? Am I still breaking up for everyone? Let me just check which Wi-Fi.
It's a little like interrupted. So some of like in parts your voice is coming, like that little robotic, and yeah, for me at least, for sure. Okay, so even Khushbu's.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Did everybody get the question? Generally, did you get the question? Question is कि ये तो सब वैसे ही माया है. Everything is anyways Maya. Life anyways is Maya. तो हम परमात्मा को क्यों याद करते हैं जब हमें कुछ चाहिए होता है? Completely not connected, but since we are discussing this, I just want to clarify it for you. Anybody?
So I feel it could be, I know I want material things, but still I'm praying to God. And I even know that by praying to God, I'm not going to get those material things. But still I'm praying to God. I feel is because I've been conditioned since childhood to pray. Secondly, I get some sense of peace when I pray, some sense of silence at that moment only. That's why I pray. Third, after coming to these classes, I've realized that probably my prayers can help me to reach a level where I can actually drop my ego. Because I have realized in these classes that ego and the need to be visualized, need to be visible, need to be recognized and acknowledged is very high in me. And this constant feeling that to do your 100% every second was not there in me, but I'm trying. And probably my prayers can help me to be present to the present moment a level more.
Okay,
I will not say that.
that's a good one. It's also good that you're transforming. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Manu, any thoughts? Let's see if we can hear you today.
We pray to God, मतलब और कहाँ करेंगे? God को ही करेंगे. We would be praying to God only. There is nobody else to pray to. So, as in, we are of the difference between the soul and the body. हमें तो सब एक ही लगता है.
See? What? Shalini can't hear you. Do you have your headset?
Connected, I think. उसको हटाओ.
Move your headset and then. Okay. Vishwani, you had some thoughts?
I have too many actually, but I think more specifically to your question about why is it that we ask God for wish fulfillment,
Yes.
and I think everybody who's been under your tutelage, at least I remember even before, you used to say mandir jate ho, to instead of now putting money in the hundi, you instead just do a sahasranam and come back and increase the energy of that space, right? Initially we would all go, and I think everyone here, like Khushbu also shared, that now at least I've stopped asking because we've also learned careful what you wish for. But I think the reason, firstly, we've established that human beings are extremely rooted in matter, right?
Desire
It's sorry?
and desire.
Yeah. So it's all material, we're so stuck in our Mooladhar, and it's like constantly being, pulled in.
ऐसा नहीं है बेटा. Our ancestors and our sages have also prescribed puja only for wish fulfillment. So there should be some truth in that particular activity also.
Sure. So,
right?
no, what I was trying to get at is, similar to what Manu said, ek to kisse mangenge. When you're younger, you ask your parents. Now parents ask their parents. So somebody, because you associate God with this, entity who you turn to in your dukhi times, who you turn to in general. It's like, that sounding board at that shoulder to lean on. And hence it's
Western philosophy, when they study the concept of God, they said it evolved. And first there was no God, and then there was God, and then God was a good God, and then God became a benevolent God. So if you read the Western evolution of God, just like evolution of man, they have a whole complete theory about evolution of God. It's very interesting. So maybe there is no God. Perhaps there is no God. And if there is no God, everything is happening in your head only. And yet there is certain validation that has been assigned to this entire process, like I said, by our ancestors, that they couldn't be wrong, right? Anything that is being handed over to us by our ancestors and our seekers and seers couldn't be wrong. So what is the fundamental concept behind it? And the answer lies in shloka number, I think, 17. Anybody else? Both? Any thoughts around it? Any answers that come to mind?
No, Didi, but it has changed for some time now. I really feel, at least for me, I don't know what to wish for. So
excellent. That's very well. But I'm asking, and yet you're not wishing. You're still praying. So obviously you're not in action for nothing. Surely you're doing that action for something, because we're all rooted in desire. You've probably transformed your desire, but it's shifted to something else. कोई भी हम action करते हैं, उसका हमें acknowledgement चाहिए. सुबह उठते भी हैं तो उसका भी एक्नॉलेजमेंट चाहिए. अगर हम चलते कहीं जाते हैं तो भी उसका एक्नॉलेजमेंट चाहिए. कुछ बोलते हैं तो भी दूसरा हूँ हाँ बोले सामने से, एक्नॉलेजमेंट चाहिए. My
Yes,
husband's biggest problem, he keeps speaking to me and I have no responses. Like I'm speaking to a wall. So acknowledgement, इतना acknowledgement चाहिए लाइफ में कि वो मिनिमम. तो हम पूजा अगर कर भी रहे हैं, आपका हो सकता है डिजायर ट्रांसफॉर्म हो गया हो because of all the teachings and all the association and constantly saying कि भाई मत करो. But कुछ ना कुछ तो फिर भी होगा. उसको आप study करेंगे. If you study it, there must be
yeah,
something there. Yeah.
बहुत है. It's there. It's like small things,
Ego.
everything.
Remember we had a long discussion about how ego builds and
Yes,
right. So there should be. So the answer, without obviously you guys are not getting there. So the answer to this is very beautiful, very pertinent also, and you must know this. Remember in the 17th shloka we discussed that the soul or the essence of soul is all pervasive. It's everywhere. It's like gold in jewelry. It's like water in a wave. It's like the earth in the pot. Right? With me? Everybody remembers that part of the teaching? If that be the case, if I want to make more pots, what do I need? We still can't hear you, Shalini. Anybody else wants to answer? If we need more pots, what do we need? More earth. If we need more jewelry, what do we need? More gold. If we need more waves, what do we need? More water, right? So if God or Atma or soul is all pervasive, everything we are seeing is only Atma only, then wish fulfillment will also be given if we extend the Atma only, Atma Paramatma, same thing. अगर आपको एक से दूसरा बच्चा चाहिए तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? पॉट तो तब बनेगा ना जब उसमें मिट्टी आएगी. एक से दूसरा कंगन चाहिए. If you need one more bangle, what do you need? बैंगल तो तब बनेगा ना जब उसमें बेसिक एसेंस आएगा. Everybody with me? So even for material wish fulfillment, Khushbu, this one will be very interesting for you. Even for material wish fulfillment, you need the Paramatma, the Atma, the access to the Atma. Yeah, that Atma has to extend itself. There are seers and sages who were able to grant you whatever you wanted or manifest whatever they wanted. How is that possible? All this Maya is mithya, is untrue, is an illusion. Everything material that we see is anyways an illusion. What gives this illusion life? What gives this illusion life in this entire world? What gives it life? The Atma. Right.
Atma.
So for us to manifest something, if we have more access to Atma, will we be able to manifest more?
Yes.
Now we can hear.
Oh, thank God.
Does that make sense? Do you guys understand this? Everybody with me? So Atma is the essential currency for life and matter that is available, visible, accessible to us. Our Atma, our soul. The brighter it shines, the more we will be able to have, materially and ethereally. The brighter your Atma is shining, the more you have access, body will not degenerate. The more you have access, you have abundance. क्या करेंगे? इस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड में जब आत्मा मैनिफेस्ट करेगी तो कैसे मैनिफेस्ट को कुछ ना कुछ तो करेगी ना. और कुछ नहीं तो आपके पास लोग ही बतेरे इकट्ठे हो जाएंगे. You'll have lots of crowds. Even if you're a pauper, you'll have crowds. Everybody with me? You're understanding? The manifestation of Atma is the material benefits that you see in the world. Because materially, nothing is possible without the soul manifesting, consciousness manifesting in it. With me?
And you had said once that Prakriti gravitates towards Purush. So it's the same thing, like the Prakriti, the material world gravitates towards the soul. That also.
But theory, but from Bhagwat Gita, we know there is nothing but Atma. Everything that we see is Atma only. क्या हम बोल रहे थे ना ठसाठस भरा हुआ है. Remember that statement? ज्वेलरी में कितना गोल्ड है? थोड़ा गोल्ड थोड़ा मैटर है क्या? पूरा ही गोल्ड है. अब कोर्ट में लाते हैं आजकल, वो बात अलग है. बट होपफुली पूरा ही गोल्ड है. यस मनु.
So you're saying the Atma manifests itself in material form. The shinier the Atma is, the more the material form. ऐसा? ये समझ नहीं आया था मुझे.
पहला वाला सेंटेंस समझ में आया, दूसरा वाला मत पूछो. पहला सेंटेंस क्या था? ये जो भी चीज हमें दिखती है वो दिखती इसीलिए क्योंकि उसमें आत्मा है कि नहीं?
ठीक है.
हम भी दिखते हैं. अगर हमारे अंदर आत्मा नहीं होगी तो मर जाएंगे.
Right.
Everything that is visible, material, alive or dead or whatever, is only visible because there is a basic fabric of consciousness that makes it there. Yeah, makes it possible. कोई भी चीज है कि नहीं है उसके लिए क्या चाहिए? अगर ये घंटी है, घंटी है कि नहीं है करने के लिए क्या चाहिए? आँख चाहिए कि नहीं है? आँख चाहिए कि नहीं? आँख कहाँ से आ रही है? आँख ही खाली होगी तो हो जाएगा क्या? उसके पीछे कुछ चाहिए जो देखे उसमें से. With me? मनु.
Yes.
कोई भी चीज है कि नहीं है उसके लिए बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है? हाँ जी,
आँख चाहिए that you can see it.
आँख चाहिए. और खाली आँख से नहीं चलेगा. खाली वेबकैम होगा तो घंटी दिखेगी, कोई देखने वाला ही नहीं है तो. If you have the apparatus, no consciousness, will you be able to see it? So what gives anything life in our world? In my world, whatever is visible to me, even you on the computer, if you are there in my life, what makes you there in my life? I can hear you, I can see you. Yes. Everybody with me on this thought? Till up to here, everybody with me? So anything I have in my life, I have to be able to see it and perceive it as I have Manu in my life, I have Shalini in my life, I have Vishwani in my life, I have this plant in my life, I have this bell in my life, I have water over here. I have to be able to see it, feel it, perceive it. What is the source of perception?
Mind.
Sorry?
Our sense organs.
Sense organs को कौन चला रहा है?
Mind.
Brain.
Atma.
और brain को कौन चला रहा है फिर?
Atma.
Atma.
Abhi got it? Say Manu, अगर तुम्हें कोई चीज दिखने लगती है, say supposing you are able to see, you are able to feel, you are able to taste some delicious food which other people cannot taste, see or see. It is not visible, but it is reality for you, no? If you can touch something, taste something, feel something, see something, hear something, then that's your reality. that's there in your material world, yes or no?
Yes.
What gives it life? Atma gives it life, right? Your consciousness is making it happen. Fair? For as long as you are able to see, अब जैसे Palomi है, say Palomi lost her mother, but if she is able to see, will she be suffering at all? If Vishwani is able to see her grandmother, feel her grandmother, talk to her grandmother, feed her grandmother, is the grandmother alive? Yes or no? Right? So the concept of something being there is very dependent on you having proof that it is there. That proof is gathered by what? By the sense organs, right? The sense organs are moved by the consciousness in you, which ultimately, if you go on doing a deep delve, it is a deep-seated Atma. से किसी के पास कामधेनु है या वो विश फुलफिलिंग पॉट है, कितना भी खाना बन सकता है, खाना नहीं बन सकता, लोगों को लगेगा खाना है, खाया, सेटिस्फैक्शन। उनकी सेंसेस में वो चीज मैनिफेस्ट कर लेगी। मेक सेंस विद मी? तो कुछ भी अगर हमें ज्यादा चाहिए तो हमारे पास आत्मा होनी चाहिए वो कॉन्शियसनेस प्रोजेक्ट करने की। जितनी बड़ी आत्मा उतना बड़ा प्रोजेक्शन। कुछ प्रोजेक्शन आपके लिमिटेड रह जाते हैं, खाली आप ही देख सकते हैं। और बड़ा प्रोजेक्शन करो, सब देख सकते हैं वैसे ही जैसा मुझे दिखता है। जैसे आप बाजार से चीजें खरीद के लाते हैं, ना बाजार से चीजें खरीद के लाते, you pay something, like I bought this lamp, I paid something for it, then I kept it here. Now everybody can see it. What currency did I spend to make this lamp visible in my life? Cash, in this case, right? Similarly, there are things that you can manifest beyond this. Cash also, where did it come from? If we start doing a deep dive, तो कहाँ से आया? पैसा भी हमें लाने के लिए वही कॉन्शियसनेस चाहिए। पैसा मैनिफेस्ट करने के लिए भी कॉन्शियसनेस चाहिए, फिर पैसा मैनिफेस्ट किया उससे ये मैनिफेस्ट कर लिया। तो पूजा करने से वो आपका आत्मा तत्व बढ़ता है, कॉन्शियसनेस बढ़ती है। Once you increase that consciousness, how you want to redeem that consciousness is up to you. Depends on the quality or qualifications of your desire. But it is absolutely required to have that consciousness. हाँ बेटा बोलो।
So Didi, I think I have joined. हाँ जी।
मैंने कहा तेरे तो पसंद की बात बोली।
So Didi, I think I've joined late. मैंने ये बात आपकी मिस कर दी। अभी विश्वानी ने मेंशन की कि आप कहते हो कि भगवान से कुछ मांगना नहीं चाहिए। तो मुझे ये कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं समझ में आया कि भगवान से क्यों नहीं मांगना चाहिए। बिकॉज मैंने आज तक जितने भी पाठ पढ़े हैं उन सब में यही कहा गया है, आपको अच्छी हेल्थ चाहिए तो आप वैद्यनाथ अष्टकम का पाठ करिए, आपको पैसे चाहिए तो आप कनकधारा स्तोत्र करिए, आपको संकट से मुक्ति चाहिए तो आप सुंदरकांड का पाठ करिए। तो मैंने तो बचपन से यही सुना है, तो मेरे को ये थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन है। एंड सेकेंडली, this point which you mentioned that when we chant a lot, when we pray a lot, we basically gain points, and these points, it's on us to how to redeem, whether through materialistically or
we don't get points when we chant a lot. You're mistaken. Okay. So No. When
Please let Manu share what he wants to share. He really wants to share
oh,
it.
sorry, I didn't.
He's
I was,
raised both his hands.
yes, Manu.
He raised.
My first confusion is like all these part, they says you chant this part, you will get this. You chant this
नहीं,
part, you will
खुशबू,
get
हमारी
this.
क्लास में ना कुछ ब्राह्मण है, वो तुम्हें ज्ञान देंगे, बताओ. अभी देखना है, आपको ऐसा करना चाहिए जरूर. हाँ, बताइए.
देखिए, आप वो मांगना नहीं है स्पेसिफिकली कि भाई ये दे दो. आपको जो पार्ट करना है वो आप पार्ट कर लो. उस पार्ट से आपको एक प्लैनेट इंक्रीज होता है, वो आप प्लैनेट इंक्रीज कर लो. बाकी वो एक सुप्रीम पावर है, वो डिसाइड करेगी वो रिडीम किस तरफ करना है, कि वो आपके हेल्थ में करना है या किसी और चीज में करना है. अगर आप कुछ मांगते हो तो आपको जो मांग रहे हो वो मिलेगा, बट हो सकता है कि सुप्रीम पावर चाहती थी कि वो पॉइंट्स कहीं और यूज हो, फिर वो नहीं यूज होगा वहां पे, तो वो आपका चला जाएगा. तो आप ये इंटरफेयर करते हो एक नेचुरल स्कीम ऑफ थिंग्स, वो आपको नहीं करना चाहिए. जो बुद्धिज्म है, बुद्धिज्म की जो चैंटिंग होती है वो स्पेसिफिक डिमांड करती है ये चीज. वो आप स्पेसिफिक डिमांड, उसमें आपको इमीडिएट रिजल्ट आता है, बट उसके चक्कर में आपका कुछ आप गवा देते हो. वो आप नहीं देखते हो, आप कहते हो मुझे मिल गया जो मिल गया, बट हो सकता है जो आपने गवा दिया वो शायद आप नहीं गवाते. सो इसलिए आपको स्पेसिफाई कभी नहीं करना चाहिए, ये चाहिए, राइट यू. बट जो आप प्रेयर कर रहे हो, जो किस प्लैनेट के लिए कर रहे हो, वो आप करो अपने माइंड में. उस हिसाब से वो आपका लॉजिक आप यूज करो कि मैंने सुंदरकांड का पार्ट हेल्थ के लिए करना है, वो आप करो. मगर आपको ये नहीं बोलना कि भैया मेरी हेल्थ ठीक हो जाए, उनकी हेल्थ ठीक हो जाए.
Yeah, so you had some specific questions. Firstly, that you have been told from the beginning, and I agree with you, that all of these chants themselves will tell you what are the benefits of doing these chants. Right? Phalastuti is an integral part of any chant. Now, as to your observation that you haven't, you see, these students who are in this class have been with me for 5 years, 10 years. So maybe not in this class, in other classes, in other discussions, I would have, so what they are sharing right now, कि नहीं करना चाहिए, वो किसी और context में उनको बताया होगा, जो कि वो अभी बोल रहे हैं. तो आपने ये गीता का उपदेश, हाँ, ये गीता का उपदेश नहीं है. अभी तक भगवान ने नहीं बोला है कि आप क्या मांग सकते हैं, क्या नहीं मांग सकते. भगवान वहां तक आए नहीं है. पर भगवान ने एक चीज बोली है. क्या बोली है? उन्होंने बोला कि आत्मा के अलावा किसी चीज में कॉन्शियसनेस नहीं है. हर चीज जो आपको दिखती है, अभी मैंने समझाया ना आपको, एवरीथिंग दैट इज विजिबल, दैट इज अवेलेबल, दैट इज एक्सेसिबल, दैट इज एक्सपीरियंसेबल टू यू is only because you have consciousness that is able to drive your senses into having that experience, into perceiving those things, into viewing those things, into experiencing those things. Does that make sense? Khushbu, does it make sense? Are you with me? Yes? So आत्मा जो है वो सारी एक्सपीरियंस हमारी ड्राइव कर रही है. एक मैंने चीज और समझाई थी, अगर तुमने ये क्लासेस अटेंड करी हो, कि यूजुअली हमारे डिजायर्स की वजह से क्या होता है, आत्मा एक बंद कमरे में हो जाती है. यू रिमेम्बर दैट लेसन वेयर आई सेड देयर इज नो लाइट, बिकॉज द एसेंशियल कैरेक्टर ऑफ आत्मा इज व्हाट? कंटेंटमेंट. द एसेंशियल कैरेक्टर ऑफ आत्मा इज व्हाट? What else? It does not display itself. It does not assert itself. There is no assertive assertion. There is no need.
Doesn't feel the need to show itself because it's
no
already vibrant.
Need for acknowledgement. But
To feel
since,
alive.
yes, since we also have material sheath, material covering on this Atma, because of that, the radiance of the Atma is constricted. With me? Everybody is with me? The radiance of the Atma is constricted because of all this matter asserting itself, including your desires. Still with me? Yeah. So लोग बोलते हम ब्रह्मास्मि, I am God, I am like God, I just don't know it. So there is a statement that I am a human being having a divine experience. Not true. You are divine having a human experience according to our Shastras. Right? Because Atma is inside you. You are divine having a human experience. Why is your experience human? Because it gets overshadowed, it gets covered by all your material assertions. Everybody with me? Still with me? So, what happens? First, you have to understand what happens when you do chanting, when you do dan, when you do puja, when you do seva. What happens? Remember the three things I said last time? What is required for the soul to shine? What is required for the soul to be more accessible? What are the three things, Palomi?
For the soul to be accessible,
Yes.
it doesn't have the ability to assert itself, but we're able to.
Three things. We discussed it in the last class. You were there. You have to drop your ego, still your mind, and contract your
And contract.
remember that?
And contract your
Senses.
sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. लिख लो
Yes.
बेटा. Make notes. Otherwise you will forget. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Hanji.
If not now, then later when you hear the class, then make notes. Otherwise it will not be able to stay with you. So the three things to increase your Atma or Atma Tattva or consciousness is contract your senses, drop your ego, and still your mind. When you do any activity like Sundarkand ka part, Sundarkand ka part 40 days, Kanak Dhara Stotra. Kanak Dhara Stotra in a certain fashion with Abhishek. Whatever else. वैद्यनाथ अष्ट जो भी तुमने किया सुना करा देखा ये सब करने से क्या होता है one of the three things will happen. Obviously, for as long as you're chanting, your sensory perception is very limited to what you're doing. Your mental wavelength will be transformed. Sonal can talk about it. She talks about it on every class, how I've changed. I used to be like this. I am like this now. What has changed? Contentment has come in. You don't get flustered so easily. You don't get afraid of things that you were afraid of. So if with continuous practice, these three things are being achieved. What are the three things? Dropping your ego. दान कर रहे हैं आप, दान करते जा रहे हैं, क्या खत्म हो रहा है? ईगो खत्म हो रहा है, right? पूजा करते जा रहे हैं, माइंड ट्रांसफॉर्म हो रहा है, आप स्टिल हो रहे हैं, आपको गुस्सा नहीं आता उतना जितना पहले आता था, आप परेशान नहीं होते जितना पहले होते थे. ये होने की वजह से जो आपकी आत्मा है ये बढ़ रही है. The consciousness in you is increasing, and because it is increasing, you will have manifestations. Now, whatever be your desire. Does that make sense? Are you with me? Still with me?
Yes, but I have a confusion again, like when I'm not supposed to ask anything to God, number one. Number two, I am actually, as you said, that we can see the soul more when we control the desire or we don't have desires, but desires to me, if I see myself today, desires come to me every second.
बेटा
Every second
एक क्लास
desires
करने
come
से नहीं
to
होगा
me.
ना. फिलोसफी तो बहुत बड़ी है, मैं सारी चीजों का आंसर इस क्लास में नहीं दे सकती है. अब ये समझने के लिए तुम्हें योगा सूत्र पढ़ने पड़े, है ना? तो इसका the main crux of this is desire is also required for you to be moved into action because you are made up of desire. But what kind of desire? It will slowly transform if you continue to do practices, right? Both will say that I do practices, my desires have finished. I don't ask for anything. I used to ask for a lot of things, but it's not the same. He's still doing practices. Certain desires have shifted. Desires will still be there. They will just shift from material manifestation to ethereal manifestation. And even those have to be dropped for the final samadhi. So we're not going into all of that. I just wanted to remind you that the soul is all pervasive, all pervading. And therefore, if somebody says, आप पूजा कर लो, तो आपको पति मिलेगा, कर लो. पति मिले ना मिले, डेफिनेटली सोल इंक्रीज होगा, बॉयफ्रेंड तक तो मिल ही जाएगा. ठीक, उसको करने में कोई हर्ज नहीं. Using your practices for spiritual elevation or material manifestation, both are fine. The practice should have 3 characteristics. 1, it should quell your ego. 2, it should still your mind. And 3, you should be able to contract your senses while you're doing the practice. योगा करते हैं तो योगा ही करते हैं ना, फिर और कुछ थोड़ी सुनाई देता है. मेडिटेशन करते हैं तो बात तो वही है, you have to contract your senses. मंत्र जाप भी करते हैं तो भी उसका वही बेनिफिट है. बाकी सब चीजों को छोड़ के, बोलना छोड़ के अब ये बोल रहे हैं, contracting your senses. All practices, whether they are from the Sanatan Dharma or they are from any other religion also. The main idea, if you go into Sikhism, what is the main idea? Drop your ego, 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 drop your ego. That's it. तुम कुछ नहीं हो, गुरु ही है, गुरु ही सब कर रहा है. सेवा करो, सेवा करो, सेवा करो, दान करो, सेवा करो, दान करो, सेवा करो, गुरु ही है, गुरु ही है. अब क्या है ये करते करते आदमी को गाड़ी भी मिल जाएगी, मर्सिडीज भी मिल जाएगी, वो सिख आदमी के पास ऑडी भी मिलेगी, तुम्हें पॉन्टियाक भी मिल जाएगी, मैसराटी भी ले लेगा वो. क्या करते करते? सेवा करते करते. कैसे आ गई उसके पास इतनी बड़ी बड़ी गाड़ी? क्या खत्म किया उसने? ईगो खत्म किया, सोल बढ़ गया. सोल बढ़ेगा तो कुछ ना कुछ तो देगा. कॉन्शियसनेस की जरूरत है कुछ भी मटेरियल मैनिफेस्ट करने के लिए, समझे? हर रिलीजन, हर प्रैक्टिस इसको डिफरेंटली करती है. जो बेवकूफ लोग तुम्हें बोलते हैं ना एफर्मेशंस करो, उनको तुम थप्पड़ मार के भगा दो, क्योंकि उन गधों को पता नहीं है मूल क्या है. Anybody who believes in secret
Affirmations?
is stupid. Just by asking for something, you won't get anything. You have to contribute to get something. Contribution कहाँ? ये 3 areas में contribution चाहिए. Remember these, beta. Everybody should remember these. Yes.
So ego वाला समझ में आ गया. How do you contract your senses and how do you stabilize the mind?
Contract your senses. मनु, कभी भवन में बैठो, कितनी छोटी सी हो जाती है ना आपकी सेंसरी परसेप्शन. आपको दिखता है कि आसपास क्या हो रहा है. अग्नि जलती रहे, आहुति सही जगह पे पड़ती रहे. Yes or no? अब तो पता नहीं ललिता सहस्त्रनाम कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है, पर जब पढ़ रहे होते हो एक भी लाइन मिस हो जाती है, फिर कल ही परसों जब हम रुद्री कर रहे थे मेरी एक लाइन मिस हो गई, फिर मैंने कहा बताओ यार कहाँ है, मिस हो गई. So you have to concentrate. Your sensory perception has to be very focused. It's like shutters on your eyes. No. Meditation करके देख ले, नहीं तो पता चल जाएगा how you contract senses.
Stability of the mind.
Stability of the mind is not allowing. See, Manu will be visible whether father is in the hospital or father is at home or different circumstances are happening. When Manu comes, then he doesn't come with a long face. Does he ever come with a long face? Was that always the case? So slowly you stop creating loops in your head. जो चीज आपको बहुत ज्यादा बॉदर करती है, लगा आप उससे छुटकारा नहीं पा सकते, आप कहीं भी जाते हैं वो साथ में चलती है. You know, we carry so much with us, but the ability to not carry so much with us, for the mind to be stable and in the present, not in the past, not in the future, is the stability of mind. How is that gained? Some people have it naturally, which is true. We learn about it. Some people are gifted because they have done good karmas in their previous lives. And some people can cultivate it by doing various practices. Like learning Aditya Hridayam. Or like your discipline of doing Monday fasts. You do Monday fasts? Yes? Right? You don't break that rule no matter what. No matter what, even if there is a party, even if you were getting married on Monday, will you break that rule? This is stability, no? All practices will give you stability. You learn to be centered. You do not get affected by things outside. With me? नहीं? Miss हो गया? So even wish fulfillment is only possible if you have access to your soul. If that soul, that consciousness is not accessible, because everything in this world is only the manifestation of consciousness, nothing else. So the more consciousness, the more access to your soul you have, the more you'll be able to manifest in the material world as well. तो हम बोलते हैं घर खरीदना है तो पूजा करो. उससे फायदा होगा? डेफिनेटली होगा. बच्चा करना है तो पूजा करो, फायदा होगा. शादी करनी है तो भी पूजा करो. Good? Everybody understood? Anybody who doesn't understand this? Rajshri, all good? But if Vishwani wants to meet her grandmother, then also the same requirement is there. Puja karo. Still your mind, contract your senses, and what's the third one? Drop your ego. Remember, guys, always remember this. If you want something ethereal also, you want to be in this state. If you want something material also, you want to be in this state, because nothing material is possible without the consciousness. Nothing ethereal is also possible without the consciousness. कुछ भी चाहिए तो उसके लिए ये तीन चीजें तो करनी पड़ेगी. Good with me? Sona, are you there? Stepped away. Okay. Okay, it was a nice and I wanted to teach you something completely different. That was just a by the way question. All right. How much time do we have? We can go a little bit more. Yeah? Okay to go a little bit more? All right. So you will find that there is a lot of repetition in these shlokas. You go from the 11th shloka, from where Bhagwan started speaking, to right now we are almost on the 20th shloka, 19th shloka, right? 19th, huh? We are doing 19th. 19th shloka. There's a lot of repetition. He'll continue to say this. There is a soul. The soul is eternal. The soul is. He's continuously saying all this. Why is there? Is God stammering? Does he have a problem? He's like, he's repeating himself. He's run out of content. What is it? Why is Krishna continuously repeating himself? Well, you can look at it as, he wants to emphasize on the importance of what he's saying.
For emphasis, yeah.
Yeah. Reiterate.
Also because you
For
said
emphasis.
like it's apremiyasya, like there's no proof. So he's trying to explain in different ways to
Correct.
convince.
Right. Right. Okay. And you are very patient and very kind. And again, we as Indians grow up with a lot of, I will not question, I'm usually in surrender. Right? जो भी बोल रहे ठीक ही बोल रहे होंगे. भगवान बोल रहे तो ठीक ही बोल रहे होंगे. But when you take this book into the Western world and you start explaining, like, what? Why is there is a reason to repeat what has already been said in the previous shloka? And God does not just reiterate. There is always a reason why he's saying something the second time or the third time or the fourth time. Yeah, everybody would agree. But of course, it doesn't come to our notice because this subject has traveled all over the world with atheists and agnostics as well. There have been questions that have come up. And the answer is rooted in another philosophy of Indian origin, which is the Nyaya Sutras. When we studied the Yoga Sutras, you remember I talked about the 6 Darshan Shastra. If anybody remembers the 6 Darshan Shastra?
I remember Uttar Mimamsa, Vedanta,
3 न्याय मैंने बोल दिया.
Nyaya, 4. Don't remember.
Yeah.
Yoga, I don't know if yoga
Yoga,
also one. Yoga.
1. Both, do you remember them? No?
Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vedanta, Yoga, Sankhya. I think so.
हाँ है, बीबी का है दीदी, उसको याद होते हैं सारे. Anyway, so what are these for those of you who do not have any context here? Nyaya, Vaisheshika are the other two. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. Nyaya, everybody can write it down. You write it down. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. ठीक हो गए? कुछ मिस तो नहीं है मुझसे? So the Nyaya philosophy was a philosophy of reason. Why is everything happening? Where is everything coming from? You want me to repeat? Okay. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. These are the five, these are called Darshan Shastra. Darshan matlab? Darshan matlab? Darshan का मतलब क्या होता है? So, Mommy, you understand the word darshan?
Philosophy. देखना,
Right.
देख के analyze.
Very nice. मंदिर जाते हैं तो दर्शन करते हैं. भगवान को देखते नहीं है, भगवान का दर्शन होता है. So darshan means to be able to have your senses immersed in something. Yeah. So now which sense are we looking at? Mostly primary sense that we are looking at is the visual sense, the sense of sight. So in these shastras, in all these are 6 shastras, 6 bodies of knowledge, and they all constitute different paths. How you get around it is different. But at the end of each of these practices, whether you go through Nyaya or Vaisheshika or Sankhya or Yoga or मीमांसा और वेदांता, किसी को भी एक पकड़ लोगे, अगर उसको पूरा end to end पूरा कर लोगे, तो you will have darshan of what? Darshan of the Atma. So they are called darshan shastra. They enable you to see the Atma. Everybody with me? Yeah. So there are 6 darshan shastra. The first one is Nyaya. Nyaya was अगर हम हैं तो क्यों हैं? तो पूरा लॉजिकली आप अपने आप को समझाते हैं कि आप नहीं हैं और अंदर आपके एक आत्मा है. जैसे मैंने अभी बताया ना, कोई भी चीज मैनिफेस्ट हो रही है तो उसमें आपकी कॉन्शियसनेस लग रही है. आप बोलेंगे कैसे? ये है तो है, पर ये है हमें कैसे पता? क्योंकि हम देख सकते हैं, छू सकते हैं, उसको महसूस कर सकते हैं. सो एनीथिंग प्रेजेंट is only present because we are consciously acknowledging it. There is an acknowledgement required for it to be present. If we cannot acknowledge it, then it is absent. It is invisible to us. Right? Remember seeing that movie Invisible Man, that series Invisible Man, right? But if it is not visible, then it is not there. Okay? So it was, and different, all these are different approaches to the same end. The end is to be able to see Atma, to have Samadhi. Samadhi is a yoga term, but darshan of what? Darshan of Atma. To bring the consciousness of Atma into my material form, which is, imagine that is a very far-fetched goal. Think about it again. Bring the consciousness of Atma, that I have the Atma, into my material mind. My material mind does not have the tools to identify it. Correct? We talked about it in the last class. आत्मा क्या है? अप्रमेय है। तो माइंड से इसको आप स्टडी नहीं कर सकते। तो किसी तरह से हमने अपनी कॉन्शियसनेस के थ्रू वी रीच द स्टेट ऑफ आत्मा, एंड नाउ वी नो दैट देयर इज आत्मा. दिस इज दर्शन. दर्शन ऑफ व्हाट? दर्शन ऑफ the soul, the innate soul in us. And all these 6 studies will take you there. The first study is the study of logic. Yeah. And the premise of that logic, the study of the logic, has rules. To prove something in the Western philosophy, to prove something in the Western thought, it's a 3-step process. You say, how do you prove that both will also die? How do you prove it? Anything that is born will die. Both was born, therefore both will also die. 3-step process. Everybody with me? कुछ भी prove करने के लिए, girls are stupid. Khushbu is a girl, therefore Khushbu is stupid. This is our Western logic, reasoning. There is a whole study around it. How do you prove something? Pura science bana hai na? Science, literature, thought, everything requires logic. Logic, the school of logic was developed like this. It was a 3-fold process. Okay, everybody with me? In the Western world, it is a 3-fold process. Just a moment, I have to take this. So everybody understood there are 3-tier logic in the Western world. In the Nyaya Shastra, Gautam Rishi gave a 5-step logic. So we didn't even take into consideration direct cause and effect, but also indirect cause and effect. So for example, the common example from the Nyaya Shastra is that there is fire in the mountain. How will you know there is fire in the mountain? Because there is smoke in the mountain, there must be fire. But how do you know smoke and fire are related? Because I saw it in the kitchen. When there was fire, there was smoke. So now, therefore, if mountain has smoke, it must have fire. Therefore, there is fire in the mountain. It's a 5-step process. There is a term for it, since everything in our literature is very scientific. There is a term for it. These are called Panch avyayas, avyavas. Panch, 5. Avyavaha, avyavaha. Or in English we can say avyavas. 5 of them. Panch avyavaha. These panch avyavahas include the 5 steps. Pratigya, please write it down. Pratigya, hetuhu, uddharanam, uddaharanam, upnayaha, and nigmanam. Nigmanam. दोबारा बताऊं? Everybody got it? These are the 5. So let's take the example of fire and mountain. Panch avyavahas. Pratigya, there is fire in the mountain. You can write it down like that. Pratigya, there is fire in the mountain. How do you know? Hetuhu, reason kya hai? How did you decipher it? Because there is smoke coming from the mountain. Reason is because there is smoke coming from the mountain. Udharan, example. Example kya? In my kitchen, when I see fire, there is always smoke. Hetuhu. Example, udharanam. In my kitchen, I can see it. Visually, I've seen it. Second step is hetu. Third step is udharan. Visually, I have seen it. Fire किससे आया? हमें कैसे पता fire है? Hetu is because there is smoke from the mountain, coming from the mountain. Third is udharan. When I have smoke, when I have fire in my kitchen, there is always smoke. 3 हो गए सबके पास? Everybody has 3. Fourth one, upanayaha. Upanayaha, making the 2 equal. Like we did in the Western philosophy. Because she's a girl, therefore. In this case, you make the case that you want to prove and the example that you have proof of the same. Wherever there is fire, like in my kitchen, there is smoke. Therefore, there is smoke in the mountain. Yeah. So smoke is a precursor, like in my example, to the fire. This is fourth, which is upnayaha. Giving the example, then saying that these 2 are the same situations. And the last one is conclusion. Nigamanam. You state again, statement of conclusion. Therefore, because there is smoke in the mountain, there must be fire. So you're saying the same thing. There is fire in the mountain. First sentence is also that. Last sentence is also, there is fire in the mountain. With me? So this is the Nyaya philosophy, the foundation of the Nyaya philosophy, which is the philosophy of logic. And in our philosophy, because we are trying to get to something which is as extrapolated as the soul, which cannot be perceived by consciousness. So you say, how do you know that soul exists but it is not visible? How do you know? Just like eyes exist but they are not visible, soul exists but it is not visible. Just like because I'm seeing, I know I have eyes. Similarly, because I live, I must have a soul. So because there is an example required, because you're extrapolating things, and especially very subtle things, not very material things, the Nyaya philosophy has a five-fold logic. Instead of the Western philosophy is instead, in comparison, the Western philosophy has a threefold logic because it is only rooting itself in what? In the sensory perceptions. Hmm? Any questions? Okay. Everybody understood the Panch Avyavahas? Okay. Because of this, in the last few shlokas, we see the same thing being stated again and again, because Lord wants to make sure you have all the five connecting dots so that there is no question in your mind that the soul is eternal. Yeah. So we'll discuss, we've mostly done the 19th shloka. We'll just discuss it again in the next class and then go on to the 20th. But I hope it wasn't too much for you, like today's excursion into two different areas. All right, guys, have a nice week. I'll see you next week. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
You,
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.